Well, hello, upper cervical doctors and students. Welcome back to the UCM podcast. I'm Dr. Bill Davis, your host for today. I'm the founder and CEO of UCM Practice Growth Systems, where we help you grow your practice. I'm so excited to be with you once again and be talking about a really important topic, a really sometimes a sensitive topic, sometimes a topic that has more to it than may meet the eye. And what we're going to talk about today is how much should you charge for upper cervical care? And really, what we're going to get into this is more than just coming up with a number. Really, it's about why pricing is more than just a number. We're going to talk about the cost, the value, the psychology, and the positioning behind pricing, and why it's such an important thing for you to evaluate with your upper cervical practice now and really always. I would encourage you to be looking at pricing on a yearly basis with your practice. And so let's get started with this because there's a lot to this topic. So, one of the most common questions a doctor or even a student would ask is, how much should I charge? And it can be an emotionally loaded question because sometimes there's a lot of fear that is built into the answer to the question, right? You can get into a place where you're afraid of pricing your services too high, or afraid of being very different than other competitors who you would see as competitors within your community, other people who have chiropractic practices in your community. If you charge more than them, is that appropriate? Whatever. There also can be self-worth things built into that, right? Where it's like, am I actually worth premium pricing? Am I actually worth charging more? Am I still just figuring this out, right? Am I as good as I think I am, right? There's a lot of things that are built into this how much should you charge question. But the hard truth is most doctors undercharge because of fear. And that fear has real consequences for your practice, your team, and your patients. And it's more than just about you. It's about a lot more than that. And so let's get more into this. And when you look at pricing, in many ways, it can become identity. It can become part of your identity as an upper cervical chiropractor. Your fee schedule isn't just an accounting decision, right? Every number that you put on your practice and say this is what this is worth, or this is worth, or that is worth, it sends a message. It sends a message to your patients. It sends a message to your community. And really, it sends a message to yourself and your team. Pricing is one of the most powerful positioning tools available to you. And pricing as identity really can impact confidence, and it can turn its in two different ways, right? If you are confident in your service, if you are confident in what you're providing, then a premium price can signal that you believe in your training, your results, your methodology. It also can say that you believe that you are an expert, that you're someone who is specialized in the skills that you've learned. You command specialized compensation because of that. And patients can sense the difference when you do that. And also, pricing is identity in a sense of positioning. Where you price yourself is where the market places you. If you price yourself as a commodity, then people will see you that way. But if you price yourself as a specialist, then the marketplace will see you that way as well. So you're not just setting a price, doc. You're declaring the level of care, conviction, and leadership your practice stands for when it comes to your pricing. And the chiropractic pricing spectrum is really all over the place. If you look at chiropractic care in general, there is a wide range of pricing. Starting with the low cost convenience model, membership visits, idea. Think the joint is the biggest one of these. There's almost 1,000 joint locations in America. And so a membership-based, high volume, transactional, walk-in type of clinic franchise model, these membership visits can be as little as $17. So very, very low priced, very, very, in many ways, I would say low quality, right? And I'm sure you would too if you're listening to this podcast. And so that's the lowest level in chiropractic practice. But because that is available, it makes chiropractic positioned differently in the minds of many people, especially if they've ever gone to that type of a chiropractic practice. Now, the next step up from there is like kind of the traditional insurance model, practices that just are heavy insurance, HMO practices, managed care, these types of practices. Again, patients are used to spending not very much money because they're just paying their copay. It's a lower positioning within the marketplace as far as what that is worth. If you are on my insurance, I'll go to you. If you're not on my insurance, I won't go to you, right? And then there's the next step up, which is the cash corrective model, right? This is more fee-for-service, care plans, corrective care, outcome focused, more higher level service, direct patient relationships, practice, member type of practices, right? These practices can be upwards of $70 to $110 a visit. This is, a very common now, within more philosophically based techniques and those types of things. And so that's kind of a next step up. But when you look at the upper cervical model and you look at upper cervical practice and the specialization that is required there, and just the difference in communication and philosophy and so much more, and the whole, holding is healing. It's not about being adjusted thousands of times. It's about getting the spine into normal alignment and nerve function and keeping it that way as long as possible so someone can heal. This type of precision care, premium positioning, and transformational outcomes for complex cases, in my opinion, really is the apex of of chiropractic in general. Upper cervical is. And BJ Palmer said, chiropractic is specific or it is nothing. And in many ways, upper cervical is the most specific of all chiropractic approaches. And because of that, it's very specialized. And it's definitely not the low cost convenience model. It's not a traditional insurance model. And in many ways, it's not even a cash corrective model. It's beyond that. And it really needs to be positioned in the marketplace in a different way, because you are providing specialized clinical care. If you are one of the, less than 5% of chiropractors worldwide who specializes in upper cervical chiropractic, then you are providing precision neurological analysis, careful evaluation of posture and nervous system function to understand the full clinical picture. You're utilizing advanced imaging and interpretation and understanding, detailed analysis of three-dimensional x-rays or CBCT imaging to guide exact measurements and corrective vectors. And you have years of specialized training, right? Extensive postgraduate study focused on clinical experience in upper cervical care. And it is a corrective model, obviously. Corrective spinal correction, a precise measured correction designed to restore alignment with specificity, not force, right? Starting at the top of the spine and then addressing the compensation cascade by addressing the main misalignment in the spine. And it's outcome-based care, right? Care plans built around measurable change, functional improvement, and long-term stability. So this type of specialization, Doc, creates value. And you have earned the right to charge accordingly because of the advanced training that you have. Another piece to this, and it's something I believe has been changing as we've been doing this podcast the last 10 years, is more and more upper cervical practices are utilizing care plans, which is fantastic. I'm so glad that that is the case. In our most recent survey, is upwards of 90%, and especially offices that are thriving, it's more like 95% plus are utilizing care plans, because care plans, they allow you to ultimately get better results for patients, because they are committing to a plan of care over several months to be able to get them stabilized and into a place where they're holding the adjustments. They're holding their adjustments longer and longer, which is the real key, rather than the individual visit type of model. And so if you're not utilizing care plans, I'm going to continue to encourage you to do so, because it is such a better way to go than individual visits for many different reasons. Not just the fact that you're going to have more predictable, stable revenue, but also because you'll have a higher patient retention, which will lead to better outcomes for patients. It'll lead to more referrals. It'll lead to better compliance, better alignment with outcomes, stronger patient commitment. All the way through, care plans just win for your practice. And it provides more structure, more commitment, clearer expectations on the front end. Patients know what's coming. That clarity reduces anxiety, builds trust, helps them to better understand the process, what you're doing, why you're doing it. And it gives you more opportunity to get that measurable progress as you're doing, hopefully, progress exams as well along the way in your care plan. So let's take a look at some pricing benchmarks, right? This is just a starting point for discussion. Your specific fee ranges can vary by your market, by your growth stage, by your positioning, but there's some key service categories in every upper cervical practice should evaluate. And like I said, I would encourage you to evaluate these things every year, right? Your new patient exam, your upper cervical imaging, your cost of your individual, check and adjustments, your overall corrective care plan, and your wellness maintenance plan. These are all, some of the main areas that you want to look at every year. I mean, new patient exam, I've seen, a benchmark range anywhere from $100 to $200. Imaging, I've seen anywhere from $250 to $500. Individual adjustment, the most recent survey had an $80 average throughout the country. Corrective care plan, again, the average is about $2,000. And a wellness maintenance plan, a lot of doctors will do like a 10 or 12 visit package, which may include some sort of a 10% discount or something like that if a wellness patient purchases those in advance. So these are some things to be thinking about. And obviously your progress exam as well. What do you charge for that? I could see anywhere, $50 to $100, kind of depending on the practice as well, the area. And so these are all things you want to be looking at and thinking about when it comes to your pricing. And I mean, if you just look at a new patient, right, the new patient experience, I mean, you can go to the Joint and get a new patient special for $29, but the experience you're going to get there is not going to be anything like what you would get in a premium upper cervical practice with advanced imaging, right? Traditional chiropractic initial exam, maybe $100, $200. Upper cervical is $250 to $400, but many premium upper cervical practices that are doing CBCT or at least 3D dimensional 3D imaging are charging $400 to $700 in that first few visits, right? To make sure that they're doing their very best for the patient, really getting them great results right off the bat, so that they can begin to hold that correction. Because patients don't walk into an upper cervical practice paying for a quick adjustment, even if that's why they first come there, if they think it's just like any other chiropractic practice. But if you give them an experience and you help them to see that this is different, you see that this is unique, that this is special, that this is specialized, and this is premium, this is what they've been looking for, they're investing in specialized diagnostic process designed to answer why they've been struggling in the first place, right? And that's the ultimate goal here. is that patients want results. They want their bodies to feel and function better, right? And upper cervical is uniquely positioned to help people that no one else can help. And really, if you just look at it from a math perspective, right? If you look at the capacity math that every doctor has to run, I mean, if you're in a high volume, low fee practice where, say, you're seeing 200 visits a week, but you're charging only $50 per visit, that's a $10,000 a month weekly revenue, right? 200 visits times $50 is 100K, I mean, 10K a week. But if you just went to the average of upper cervical practices in America at $80 a visit, and you only saw 150 patient visits a week, so 50 less visits a week, but you were charging $80, you're already at $12,000 in monthly revenue. So you're making $2,000 more every week, but seeing 50 less patients, right? So this stuff matters, right? When you look at these types of things and see if we charge more appropriately for the services we're providing, then we have better margins and less burnout and deeper patient relationships and stronger culture, right? As a result, versus a high volume, low fee practice where you run into, just doctor exhaustion, team overwhelm, and reduced attention per patient because of you just got to move faster because you got to see more patients. But fewer patients, more revenue actually leads to better care. And undercharging has other real consequences. Low fees or not charging as much may feel safe, but the cost of undercharging is far greater than most docs realize. It compounds over time across every dimension of your practice. As I mentioned, it can lead to doctor exhaustion, right? Where doctors are just worn out because they have to pay the bills. So they sacrifice time, energy, clinical depth. Burnout follows quietly, but eventually gets loud, right? Team limitations as well. When you have thin margins, it means you have fewer staff. It means you have lower wages and a team that can't deliver the experience your patients deserve. And so when you increase your pricing, it impacts your team in a positive way. It allows you to add more team members. It allows you to pay them better, these types of things. And the patient experience is also reduced. If you don't charge enough, you can't invest in technology. You can't improve the environment that the patients are coming into. You can't invest in the training that your team needs. So the patient experience suffers, and so do your outcomes. And then ultimately, this can lead to practice instability, where a chronically underfunded practice has no buffer for downturns, has no buffer for a bad month, no capacity to grow, and no path to longevity. Low prices are often, they become more expensive than you can possibly imagine. It's the hidden cost of undercharging is paid in burnout, attrition, and unrealized potential. So the question that defines your practice, doc, is, am I building a discount adjustment business where I'm competing on price and volume and convenience, and I'm chasing my way to the bottom in my market? Or am I building a specialized upper cervical practice that's competing on expertise and outcomes and transformation, and I'm leading from the top? I truly believe that upper cervical practices should be the top of the market, right? They should be the offices that are charging the most in every market for chiropractic services, because it is the apex of chiropractic practice. And these two paths, right, being a discount adjustment business versus a specialized upper cervical practice, these are not two equally viable paths. One honors the depth of your training, the other quietly erodes it. Your pricing communicates your answer. And so here's some action steps for you, doc. I want to encourage you. You are worth more than you think. Your practice is valuable to your community. It's extremely important what you do. You're making an incredible impact on people's lives every day. And your training is worth more than you think it is. Transforming your pricing strategy doesn't happen overnight, though. It starts with a clear, honest audit of where you are today, and then working through each of some of these questions I'm going to give you, and hopefully with your team, right? Because you want to audit where you are right now. You want to decide how can we change some of our pricing, and then you want to implement, right? And so here's the core metrics you want to review. Number one, review your current fee schedule, right? As I talked about, all these different things. How much are we charging for a check and adjustment, or if you do a check fee or an adjustment fee or both, that's up to you. But what are you charging for that, right? What are you charging for a progress exam? What are you charging for imaging? What are you charging for a new patient exam? Right? All of these things matter. Look at all these things. Make sure you're charging for everything you're doing too, right? And then evaluate your care plan structure. What is included? Are you putting everything that you need to put into a care plan in order to take care of people and give them the best possible experience and the best possible outcome? You want to also calculate your true cost per lead, per visit, because a lot of times doctors don't know this. They don't understand their overhead. What is your overhead, right? How much does it cost you to actually deliver an adjustment to a patient, right? What is that? What are all those costs that are into that? And what is your actual profit right now on your per visit fee? Assess your weekly capacity and margin per visit, right? How many patients can you see each week? How many new patients can you see each week? Are you already at capacity and you need an associate, right? That's another question to be asking, because so many times, you can definitely increase your prices when you are at capacity. But you also want to serve the community, right? You don't want people to be waiting 6 months to come in and see you, or 6 weeks even. You want people to get in and be able to see you to be able to get high quality upper cervical care as soon as possible. And that's why, we help people now with associate recruitment. And then just really auditing your position in your local market. What do other people charge in your community, right? Every community is different. If you're in a rural area versus a major city, your cost should be different. Your pricing should be different, but not that different, right? Where it's like, doesn't mean that just because you're in a rural area, you should be charging $35 a visit or $40 a visit or whatever. It's, at 80 is the average for a reason, right? It is most offices, even in a rural community, should be closer to $80 per visit than far away from it, for sure. And I would encourage you, look at the other chiropractors in the area, right? Are they charging more than you? Then I would reassess what you're charging, because you should be charging the most in your market, in my opinion. And document and track patient outcomes systematically, right? You're getting tremendous results. You're changing people's lives in a way that is unique in all of chiropractic. And so that needs to be consistently documented. Have that success story culture, because it increases your confidence. It improves what you're doing, increases the value that you have on the care that you're providing, and your team's understanding of that value as well. And so asking the deeper question here, are you pricing out of fear, or are you pricing based on the value that you're providing? Every fee you charge is a statement about what you believe your care is worth. If you've been letting fear set your prices, doc, now is the time to change that. Let strategy, let confidence, let clinical excellence take the lead when it comes to your pricing. Small pricing adjustments consistently applied can compound into transformational practice growth over time. But I'll tell you, pricing is just one dimension of practice growth. To discover where you are with all aspects of your practice and your growth, I want to encourage you to do a comprehensive upper cervical practice assessment with us. This is completely free. We do this at no charge. We just want to serve the upper cervical practices. And so we want to help you to understand your growth stage. You understand your really uncover your bottlenecks, where you need to adapt in order to grow, and really give you a clear roadmap of what's your next best step. And so You can get this by going to ucmgrow.com. It's a free assessment, no obligation. It's built for upper cervical doctors. And again, you go to ucmgrow.com and you can schedule that initial assessment with us, and we'll take a look at this. We can talk to you about your pricing if you'd like to talk about that. But there's so many other areas of practice to take a look at to help you continue to grow your upper cervical practice. Thank you again for listening. Appreciate all of you out there who consistently listen to this podcast. And as we always say, go team upper cervical.